Hey everybody, my name is Joshua Middleton, and thank you for watching the Positive Hope vlog, a documentary and a dialogue of my journey with HIV. Now what I'd like to speak with everybody today about is something very different than HIV, something that has severely impacted my life for the last 3 years. In February of 2010, I was diagnosed with what they call necrotizing fasciitis. Now if you don't know what that word is, it's a long medical term, don't worry, I didn't know either. Necrotizing fasciitis is more commonly referred to as neck fash or the flesh-eating disease. And that is because staph infection or a staph bacteria, which is a bacteria that lives on everybody's skin, given the right conditions, can start to affect the deep tissue of somebody's body, and it starts to eat away at the deep tissue. From that point, it can move on into the bloodstream and into the organs, which is also why it's a very deadly disease. It actually has a 70% fatality rate. Yes, that's right, 70%. So that means the majority of people who have had this are not here to tell their stories. And the people who do survive it normally end up losing a limb. Now, thank God, God saw me through it, and I ended up having both limbs, both arms, both legs. So I'm very fortunate in that sense. In January of 2010, I had cut my foot on coral while attempting to retrieve a lobster net while fishing in Oceanside Harbor. A month after that, I ended up getting a small sore on my leg. That kind of was pimple-like, but it ended up getting fluid built up under it. It started to get very painful, so I made an appointment with my primary care doctor to get it checked out. He gave me a diagnosis of shingles at the time, and that was very odd to me because I said, hey, I'm a young guy. I shouldn't have that at this kind of age. But I ended up taking his advice, and I took some medicine for a couple days, and it wasn't getting better at all. At the time, I was working at a real estate agency in San Diego, California. It was my first sales job. I went to work one day and I was having such aggravating pain. I was having fevers, chills, muscle aches, nausea. But at the same time, I didn't want to leave work because I said, hey, if I leave work, I'm not going to be able to come back to my job, whatever the case. If it's for something dumb, I don't want to do that. I wish I would have went earlier. However, my mom actually had to end up coming down to bring me clothes. And when she saw the condition I was in, she said, you're not going to keep working. We're going to the hospital. I was very angry at the moment. I didn't understand why. I thought I could still keep working through everything. I've always been a bit of a workaholic, and that was the issue. But we ended up making the decision that, hey, we need to go. So we went to Tri-City Hospital in Oceanside, California. When we arrived there, they gave me some medicine, some antibiotics, ran some labs, and they told me, hey, the infection you might have is very serious. We don't have the resources here to take care of that. You need to go to a lot bigger hospital where there's specialists and hospitalists that can take care of you. So we ended up having to go to Scripps Encinitas. Now, I was transferred by emergency ambulance. When we arrived at Scripps Encinitas, I was left in a room for 2 hours. I was very out of it. I don't remember too much of it. It didn't seem like 2 hours, but at the same time, I was still having excruciating pain. Whatever medicine they had given me at the other hospital was obviously wearing off, and I didn't know what was going on. All I know is that whatever I had was very serious. Eventually, after my parents were very pissed off, to use very light words, they were there with me the whole entire time. They ended up going and speaking to a nurse and saying, hey, a doctor needs to see him. So a doctor finally came in and saw me. Seemed like he was in a little bit of shock of why I had been left for so long. And after the lab results had came back and everything from the previous hospital stay, or the previous hospital visit, I'm sorry, then they ended up telling me that, yes, you have a very serious condition and it's life-threatening. It's called necrotizing fasciitis. I was rushed into emergency surgery. It was about 4 to 5 hours. The surgeon came in at midnight that night just to do my surgery. I was completely out of it. When I woke up, I was in an intensive care unit. Everybody was wearing masks and gowns around me. I didn't know why. I didn't know how serious it really was at that point. And pretty much I had to fight through it. I was in the ICU for 2 weeks. It was a very long time. I was being bugged every 20 minutes by a nurse checking to make sure I was fine. I went through septic shock, which I almost died for a second time in the hospital, which is when your blood pressure drops to dangerously low levels. They ended up doing the complete wrong procedure and giving me blood pressure medicine through a regular vein, which is supposed to be given through a main artery, such as your neck, because of your vessels being dilated and constricted. However, I ended up stabilizing. I ended up fighting through it. I survived death twice. They told me if I would have not went in that night, I probably would have died. So it really hit home for me. It took me about a year or so to recover from the neck fash, and I still have mental and emotional side effects from it. However, physically, it took me about a year to recover from it. In April of 2012, I had a reoccurrence, not of necrotizing fasciitis, thank God, but of staph infection again. It wasn't as serious as the first time, but regardless, I had to stay in the hospital for about 5 to 6 days and have a second surgery, this time behind my left calf. I was in a relationship with a girl at the time, which is my ex-girlfriend, who I believe eventually infected me, though I'm not 100% sure about that, and you can check out my other videos to find out more about that. However, it was a very high-stress relationship. At the time, I found out she cheated, and I didn't know how to handle it. I had never had that happen before. And I was still going down and seeing her because I thought I loved her, against the best wishes of my family to stay and take care of my health. However, because of the stress I was under, I ended up putting myself in the hospital about 20 to 30 times the months following. I was in the hospital about once to twice a month for 4 to 5 days. I went through hell with my leg. It was to the point when I told the doctors, I don't want my leg anymore. I just want you to amputate it because I don't want to deal with it anymore. I was so frustrated about things. And to this day, I haven't had a flare up of neck fash since all that happened. However, I haven't had a flare of staph infection or anything of the sort since March of 2013. So it's gone on about 8 months right now. For me, that's a record. I ended up finding a new infectious disease doctor who was actually the doctor that eventually diagnosed me with HIV. And he put me on some old school antibiotics, some first generation antibiotics that have seemed to very much help. My body's still rebuilding itself because of the fact I've had 2 surgeries. They think that is why the reoccurrence has happened, because my lymphatic system has been traumatized in my leg, and it's going to take time for my body to naturally rebuild itself. I've done everything: physical therapy, medicine, everything that I can, acupuncture, everything I can for my leg. However, it just didn't seem to be getting better. So my point of sharing this message is, whatever you're going through, whether it be very serious or very minor, whatever, if something's happening with your body and it is adversely affecting you, it's not normal for you, go get it checked out by your doctor. If you have questions about your doctor's diagnosis and it doesn't seem right to you, go get a second opinion. Educate yourself about it. Go on the internet. Now, obviously, do not believe everything you hear on the internet or everything that you read on the internet. Go to a reputable medical journal. Go to a government site. Do whatever you have to do to educate yourself about it. The main point I want to get across to you is nobody's going to take care of your health like you are. Your body's a temple and you should cherish it. Before you can try to help other people, you need to take care of yourself first. That was my problem. I wanted to continue a relationship because I thought I was in love. And I thought love would die if I didn't, continue on and keep going down there, even though I knew I was putting my own health at risk. So the most important message I want to get across is take care of your health. If anything seems abnormal, get it checked out. And until next time, thank you for watching the Positive Hope vlog. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be, and thank you for watching.